Hi folks, Roland Martin here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, I get a lot of comments all the time, and one of the really prevalent comments is people wanting to know more about how to fish braid. They're kind of afraid of braid. You know, braid's expensive, but there's some really great things about braid. Let's just talk about the three most important things. Number one, it's super strong. It's really the answer for catching big fish in heavy cover. Number two, it has no stretch. I mean, well, very little stretch, and so what that means is that you can set the hook really good. With actually a lighter rod, you don't have to actually set the hook as hard. And the third thing that it is, it's just so sensitive. You know, braid is just the most sensitive line. I mean, you can feel a strike with braid far better than you can with monofilament or fluorocarbon. But a lot of people are a little hesitant. They want to know what kind of knots to tie. There's really just a couple really good knots to tie. Let's just take this frog, for example. Now, this is a power fishing situation. That's kind of what I'm known for, fishing braid in heavy cover here in South Florida where I live. And I have some 50-pound braid, which is kind of light for me, but just to show you, this is 50-pound braid on this frog. Okay, 50-pound braid. What's the best knot? Well, I'm going to show you the knot that I think is the best for just any lure, and that's just a simple Palomar knot. Just a simple Palomar knot. To tie a Palomar knot, check your line to make sure it's not frayed, and take about a foot of line, and just I'll take this loop and I'll come through the eye right here, just one time, and it's so simple to do. You just do an overhand knot right now, just an overhand knot right here with the tag end, which is a double loop in this case, and that braid just opens up. You just open that braid up and take the lure, the whole entire lure, and go through that loop and just merely pull it up tight. What I like to do is I like to pull the tag end first. That's the tag end, and then I pull the main line second, and ready to go. And I'll take line. I'll just use a standard pocket knife that I just keep sharp, and just put a little tension on the braid, and it cuts quite well. Now that is a Palomar knot on braid with 65, or this happens to be 50-pound test braid. It's about a 98% knot. It's really a good super duper knot. You can go one step farther. I could take some super glue if I wanted to and put a dab of super glue on here, but it's really not necessary. Okay, that's the first knot that you just have to master if you're gonna do any serious braid fishing. Okay. The other thing is, people say all the time, they say, well gosh, Roland, I do a lot of plastic worm fishing, and I like the sensitivity of braid, and I like the fact that I can set the hook good with braid, but sometimes the water's kind of clear, and sometimes the braid kind of spooks the fish. Well, there's an answer to that. Let me just show you. Okay, let's take this frog for a second, and let's just, you know, that frog rod was a perfect setup. I mean, it was all set up with 50-pound braid, and it's a nice heavy-duty rod. It would also make a good worm rod, but you know, 50-pound braid in real clear, ultra clear water can be visible. So let's just talk about leaders. A lot of people don't know how to tie a leader. They hear of the FG knot, for example. And the FG knot, as far as I'm concerned, is a very difficult knot to tie. It's probably the strongest knot in the whole world. But listen, folks, if you're an expert, if you're just one super duper professional expert, you can tie a really good FG knot. If you're not good at tying an FG knot, it can fail you. So don't think that just because you know how to tie an FG knot, it's going to be a really good FG knot, because unless it's really tight on that line, it can slip. I'm going to show you a knot that's a lot easier to tie. It's a lot quicker to tie, and it's just foolproof. It's just an easy knot. So that's the double uni knot. So let's just take this frog off. I'm going to cut the line. Okay. I'm going to take some fluorocarbon line. Fluorocarbon is really the answer for, say, if you're going to fish, say, plastic worms in clear water. I'm going with 12-pound line. That's a perfect complement. I fish Lake Okeechobee a lot, and Lake Okeechobee has some open water areas that, you know, not all it's not all full of lily pads and hyacinths and stuff. Some open water, so 12-pound line will get me through. Okay, let's tie a double uni. It's really quite easy to tie, and it's so much easier to tie than, say, the FG knot. The FG knot is stronger. The FG knot is stronger, the strongest knot there is. But you have to be a real expert to tie it. Unless you're really, really, really good at tying knots, you're going to have a problem with an FG knot. Okay, let's get in position here. What I'm going to do to tie this double uni line, I'm going to take my 50-pound braid, I'm going to pull off about a foot of it, and I take my 12-pound fluorocarbon line, and I'm going to lay them parallel about a foot, about a foot apart, and then in the center of that, I'm going to grab it right here. Now I happen to have the braided side right here, okay, and I'm going to make a loop. Watch this. I'm going to make a loop right here. It's about 3 or 4 inch loop. It's just a loop, and I'm going to take that tag end and I'm going to go through the loop about 6 or 7 times. I like to go, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I might even go 8. I like to go more turns with the braided side than I do on the fluorocarbon side. Okay, I'll pull it tight. I'm going to moisten it just a little bit. Okay. Pull it down tight. Turn it up. Okay, now take the whole knot. I'm taking the whole knot and turning it the other way. Now, I have sticking out of there is the fluorocarbon side. I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit. The fluorocarbon side sticks out about 6 or 8 inches. I'm going to make a loop there, okay? Nice big loop, 3 or 4 inch loop. And I'm going to come through that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 6 times. 6 times, that's fine. 6 times. Okay, pull it tight. Okay, come on. Pull it tight. Okay. Wet the whole deal. Pull it down. Watch this. Pull down. The whole thing pulls down. Pull down. Okay. Now just go ahead and set it again. Pull the ends tight. Now here's a little trick I learned to trim this off. This is really, it's kind of spooky, but it's really works. I take a nice sharp knife, okay? And I have a little bit in the line. I'm going to put that in my teeth, and I'm going to slide the knife down the line. And as soon as I hit the knot, I'm going to cut it. Watch. I cut it right at the knot. I didn't cut the knot. I'm going to take the braid side, do the same thing. Put it in my teeth, slide the knife down the line, cut it. Now, it's kind of dangerous. You'd think you'd cut the knot, and you might cut the knot. You don't have to do it that way, but that's an extremely good way of doing it. Now, that's really strong. That's about 90-something%. That's maybe not as strong as an FG knot, but it's a lot easier to tie, and it ties the same all the time. You don't have a bad knot versus a good knot. With the FG knot, you can have a bad knot. Okay. I'm going to just really kind of set it off, really get it a couple percent stronger. I'm going to take this super glue, and this happens to be crazy glue, same kind of stuff, and I'm going to put just a drop on there, just a little teeny bit of, just a little bit of that crazy glue, and that just adds another % or so of strength. Plus, what it does, the little tag ends, in this case, I trimmed it with a knife. You might not want to do that. You might want to trim it with scissors. You might want to leave a little end. And if you use the super glue then with the little end sticking out, you can kind of roll it real quick like this, and the little ends stick in and just are out of the way, and it makes it for better casting. Okay, now I have a leader. I have a fluorocarbon 12-pound test leader on a 50-pound test braid. Okay, I want a wormfish. I like to tie about 2.5, 3 feet of line. Cut it right here. Now I talked about what kind of knot do I tie on the braid. Well, it's about the same kind of knot I tie with the fluorocarbon. Let's tie the worm on. Well, the worm is such an easy thing. You know, first of all, you take a sinker. Okay. Now, again, the Palomar knot. There's nothing wrong with the Palomar knot. The Palomar knot's the fisherman's friend. The Palomar knot's the easiest one to tie of all. you double it. You double your line like this. Okay? Through the eye, pull it out, see that the tag end's another 3 or 4 inches. So I make a loop around the main line again, like I showed you with the braid, same kind of deal. Take that loop out and open it up and put the whole hook through that loop. And pull it up, pull it tight, pull it down tight. Pull the tag in first. Kind of hard to see because it's just 12-pound line. But that's a good strong knot. Now I cut it with my teeth sometime, and my dentist said not to do that. I've been doing it for 60 years, so I don't know if that's a big deal or not. But anyway, I cut it right there. Okay, so now I have a slip weight. Sometimes I'll peg the slip weight if it's in heavy brush and cover. Sometimes I don't want that slip weight to move up and down the line, so I'll either put a bobber stop on the line or a little toothpick. But anyway, that's my compliment. Now I've taken that same frog rod, which I just love to death, 50-pound braid, which is my favorite size braid for so many things, and now I've tied a 12-pound leader on there. Now I'm ready for ready for a worm. You know, any kind of worm will work as long as it's some kind of dark color. This happens to be kind of a watermelon red color. It happens to be a Cinco, which I think is a very superior worm. And I come through the head of the hook, of course, the hook about 3/8 of an inch down. The worm, come out with it, boom, boom, boom. Slide it up on the shaft. Okay, boom. And hook it. Now I'm ready to go. So now, with that same rod that I used for frog fishing, I got a worm rig. Anyway, that's kind of the 1-2 punch for fishing braid. Braid is such a good thing. Remember braid now. It's so strong, and it's just fantastic in heavy color. But number 2, it sets the hook so well. You can't beat it for setting the hook. You don't have to have the heaviest rod in the world to set the hook with braid. You can get by with a fairly light rod. And it's good on spinning tackle. I'll tell you another thing it does on spinning tackle, what braid will do that's really a plus, it'll let you cast farther than with monofilament or with fluorocarbon. Braid casts the farthest on spinning tackle than anything. So that's a big plus. Plus you can just take, say, a rod that would normally carry, say, 12-pound monofilament, take it down to the lily pads of Lake Okeechobee, put some 30-pound braid on there, catch you a great big one out of that heavy cover. So that's some of the things you can do with braid. You can really kind of ramp up on some big fish. Anyway, folks, I hope those knots will help you out. They're simple knots. Again, I'm not knocking the FG knot. The FG knot's the strongest knot I think there is for connecting lines, but it's difficult to tie. Unless you tie it perfect, it's going to fail. So remember that. This double uni, way easier to tie than #1 knot. We'll see you again soon, and thanks for watching. I appreciate all the likes. Hit that likes button, by the way. You know, knots are always a big deal for me, and I'm asked all the time, what are my favorite knots? Well, there are my 2 right there. We'll see you again soon, and thanks for watching.